Boston's morning rush blurs into a wash of sirens, espresso steam, and tourist chatter, then falters as if sound itself hesitates around one address. On Tremont Street, behind a facade of limestone columns and restrained grandeur, the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts watches the city like an old judge who knows too much. Guidebooks call it a cultural landmark. Locals lower their voices as though the building might lean in to listen. Out front, a docent in a navy blazer recites the script: charity work, ceremonies, heritage. Applause from the tour group, cameras raised, flash, flash, flash. Yet the windows above remain unlit, curtained in velvet so heavy it swallows the light. One pane is cracked, a clean diagonal line like the stroke of a compass. Maintenance never touches it. A former custodian, now retired name withheld, once told a journalist he'd been warned to avoid an entire wing of the second floor. "Nothing to clean there," they insisted. He swears he heard voices from behind plastered walls, speaking in English older than the Republic. When he pressed his ear to the paneling, the wood was warm. Something's off. City blueprints stored in the public archive show stairwells that don't exist, hallways that drop into blank space, a sublevel labeled only with a dash. Pages from 1898 to 1903 are missing entirely, as though scissors paused mid-air, then continued with purpose. Architects credited with the building's expansion have conflicting initials in separate records: J.W. Avery or H.J. Avery. One died in 1897, the other appears nowhere before 1899. In the city, museum's restricted stacks, lies a complaint filed in 1921. Unexplained nocturnal disturbances emanating from the Masonic Hall, vibrations perceptible through adjacent residences. It was marked unresolved, then quietly reclassified under archival impediments and sealed. Rumors seep between cobblestones, forgotten basements from colonial days, tunnels threading beneath Boston like veins. A few residents claim they once saw a gated stairwell in the alley, now paved over. Others dismiss it, though their eyes slide away from the lodge as they speak. If it's just superstition, just brick and civic pride, why did the Urban Planning Department halt every proposed renovation for the past 40 years? Why do structural assessments arrive redacted? And why, each night at 2:13 a.m., do the exterior lights flicker in perfect unison, as if answering a signal from deep underground? These are the facts that refuse to behave like facts, and they lead to a conclusion Boston isn't ready to admit. Somewhere inside that building, a door exists. No one remembers unlocking it. No one remembers building it. But the city keeps acting like something on the other side is still awake. To grasp how deep the roots go, you have to step back, far past the souvenir shops and trolley tours, to 1733, when Boston was a frontier of ideas. That year, the first Masonic lodge in America was chartered here, sanctioned by the Grand Lodge of England. It wasn't a footnote to history, it was a spark. Names that would later decorate textbooks, Benjamin Franklin, Paul Revere, John Hancock, appeared in attendance logs like signatures on a pact. Not conspirators, but architects of a worldview that prized order, symbols, and quiet influence. Boston's geometry still echoes them. The layout of certain plazas forms the outline of the square and compass, visible only from above. The alignment of streets along Beacon Hill traces proportions that match sketches found in Franklin's diaries, ratios associated with Renaissance fortifications. Coincidence? The city never comments. The Grand Lodge we see today rose in 1899 on the footprint of a timber warehouse raised without ceremony. The construction budget was public record, $412,000 from fraternal funds, or so the newspapers said. But ledger books in City Hall list disbursements totaling nearly $500,000. That surplus, neither denied nor explained, vanishes into line items labeled non-disclosed infrastructural support. No architect claims responsibility for those portions. The initials on the plans, A.M. Calder, don't correspond to any licensed practitioner in Massachusetts at the time. More puzzles surface in the building's anatomy. original blueprints show an atrium that never existed, while current maintenance schematics acknowledge conduits and ventilation routes not present in early drafts. Entire zones are tagged as TP in handwriting, technical precincts. The legend for that abbreviation is missing. Interpretations fracture into camps. Civic historians suggest the extra space was intended for emergency provisions, a response to the city's fires and floods. Folklorists argue it housed relics smuggled from Europe after revolutions unsettled monarchies. Political scholars believe documents were hidden there: charters, correspondences, drafts of treaties that could embarrass living institutions. The lodge's official stance is steady. Every corner has a purpose, all above board. Yet, in 1967, during a modernization effort, renovation files were sealed by gubernatorial order, classified until 2075. Contractors who worked the job signed non-disclosure agreements enforced by the state. One foreman, now in his 90s, remembers descending a staircase he swears isn't there anymore. In his words, the air felt pressurized, like the walls were listening. What started as architectural curiosity now feels like infrastructure with intent. Something was designed beneath Boston that wasn't meant for public eyes. Something justified overspending, falsified signatures, and a century of silence. And the strangest part? Every time the topic resurfaces, the response is the same polite refrain. There's nothing unusual here. A refrain that sounds less like reassurance and more like a warning disguised as civic pride. It begins with details nobody should bother noticing. On the third floor, past a velvet rope that's always temporarily in place, the air shifts, cooler, edged with the scent of metal and incense. The corridor is short, terminating in a wall of cobalt tiles arranged in a star map. Not art, cartography. Astronomers who've studied photographs in private agree on one thing: the constellations resemble the sky over Boston on December 16, 1773, the night the harbor filled with tea. But there's an anomaly. One star is displaced, forming an impossible triangle with two others, like a coordinate in plain sight, daring someone to interpret it. Caretakers give conflicting accounts. One insists the mosaic is from 1910, another claims 1946. Archives say nothing before 1972. The grout fluoresces faintly under ultraviolet light, outlining lines invisible in daylight, arcs connecting the misplaced star to a latitude that corresponds to the harbor tunnels long sealed after Prohibition. The building's underbelly is stranger still. In the basement, past boilers older than the electric grid, sits a door shaped like a keystone. No hinges, no knob. A thick bronze plate covers its center, etched with a compass so precise it could be used for navigation. In 1974, a restoration intern wrote in a private journal, later donated to Tufts University, that cold metal pressed to the plate caused a vibration as if machinery were waking up. Days later, the intern left the state and never returned. His departure file reads, "Voluntary exit, personal reasons. No forwarding address." More breadcrumbs surface in a short-lived project from 1997. A group of historians calling themselves Boston Undercurrents received permission to film the substructure for a public television special. 2 weeks in, permits were revoked, citing funding issues. One member, approached years later, denied involvement entirely. Another sent a single line to a reporter before disappearing from correspondence. Space can be empty and still not be unoccupied. Fragments of their notes leaked. Floor flexes under single footfall. Weight triggers resonance. Acoustic return suggests chamber beyond solid stone. Light behaves strangely. Diffusion without reflection. Not paranormal, mechanical, designed. The lodge's security footprint reinforces the unease. Since 2008, the alarm system has been upgraded 6 times, always after midnight, always by contractors whose business licenses dissolve within a year. Surveillance cameras cover angles that don't face entrances or valuables. They stare at blank walls, as if waiting for those walls to move. If the rumors are fiction, the choreography is impeccable. If they're truth, the truth has architecture. Corridors built to mislead, symbols that double as instructions, history threaded into blueprints like a cipher left for the patient. And there's a phrase whispered among archivists, a slogan never printed but passed like a password. Some rooms are not entered, they arrive. Whatever lies beneath the Grand Lodge isn't dormant, it's listening. And every sign suggests it is preparing for someone to listen back. In 2013, a transformer surge darkened Tremont Street. For 7 minutes, tiles outside the Grand Lodge lifted in sequence, as if something below adjusted its posture. The city blamed heat expansion. Engineers reviewing slowed footage described mechanical synchronization, then went quiet. In 2018, a leaked letter referenced the Meridian Vault. Heritage assets not suitable for exhibition. The lodge called it fake, though forensic analysts found no anomalies. One line lingered: ingress restricted, egress uncertain. Officials insist only drainage lies beneath. Yet 1967 renovation files stay sealed until 2075. Floor plans map corridors that don't exist. A contractor from a 2008 retrofit left a voicemail before vanishing. We reinforced a door without a room. A theory persists. During the revolution, founders authorized a repository for documents or objects too destabilizing for public record. Not mythic, just combustible. A safeguard against a truth that could tilt the nation off balance. If such a vault exists, it explains the spending gaps, surveillance aimed at blank walls, and stairwells that double back like misdirection. Or everything's coincidence, the stars on the third floor mere decoration, the bronze plate inert metal. But if even one detail holds, Boston rests on a hinge in its own story. A lock built by people who understood how fragile history can be and how much must stay hidden to preserve it. The lodge remains silent. The cracked window stays untouched. Some answers aren't lost. They're contained,